the cloud. All right, so the recording has started. So welcome again to our October CNIE Tech Sharing event. I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Connie Lavina Ewan. So I'm actually a faculty member in the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies, looking at emerging technologies at Athabasca University. And of course, I'd like to begin actually with some land acknowledgements. So at Athabasca University, we just want to respectfully acknowledge that we are on and work on the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples of Canada. And today I'm joining you from Edmonton, Alberta, which is located on Treaty 6 territory. So we'd like to honor and give thanks for the ancestry, the heritage, and gifts of all the First Peoples of Canada, whose presence still continues to enrich our very vibrant community. So at this time, I just want to give you a few minutes and invite you to share your land acknowledgements from wherever you are, if you wish. You can either raise your hand and grab the mic or go ahead and type it in the chat box if you'd like to share. So I'll just give a few minutes for you to do that. And I will also try to open up my chat box here and see. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. And again, I just want to mention that for this event, we really like to be interactive and collaborative as well. So hopefully we'll get to really meet each other and really get to talk through and demo some of the tools that we're talking about today. And thank you, Cynthia. I see you are putting in your land acknowledgements in the chat. Thank you very much. Yes, wonderful. Okay. Now, with that said, hopefully all of you can see my screen still. So I am actually going to share this with you because I think it would be crucial for us if we want to be able to collaborate, that we all have access to this document. And as I mentioned before, at the very end, I'd like this to be a document that you could sort of take home with you, essentially, and access it, look through some of the resources, and also connect with other CNIE members. So I'm just going to put this in the chat. Let me know if you're not able to access it or if you have any trouble seeing the chat here. It is just a Google Slides document that will bring you to this particular slide. So our tech share event. Give you a couple of minutes to get in here. Oh, and I'm just going to also admit everybody into the group. Welcome to all the new members as well coming in. Okay, and Cynthia is saying she doesn't have access to the document here. So I'm just going to double check. I believe it is supposed to be able to be edited and shared with everyone with the link. So maybe try one more time. If not, you can also look off my screen for now, but it would be ideal if you were able to access it. So I'm just sharing the link again for everybody to follow along. This is going to be the collaborative document that we'll be working on together. So let me know if you are not able to access that. And Cynthia, you can also let me know too if you are able to access it later on. So hopefully it's just a matter of changing browsers. Let me know if you have any kind of error message that's popping up and we can see if we can troubleshoot on the spot there. Okay. Carol says it works for you. Okay, thank you so much. That's good. Yeah, it should be. I do have it shared with anyone with the link, but sometimes depending on your browser or if you have multiple tabs open, we find that it can be a bit of a challenge. So do let me know if you need some help getting into the document there. So I'll just give it a few minutes. Okay. So I haven't heard anything from Cynthia. I think she's working hard to figure out what is going on there, but do let me know if you need some more help. Okay. And I'm just going to move on to the next slide. So the goal of the event, again, is to share some of these awesome tech tools that we've been using in our practice or that you've heard about, and kind of go from there. So what we're going to do is, if you scroll ahead and look at all the slides, what we have here is a couple of different sections. So I've set them up based on instructional design. We have multimedia games, storytelling, interactive technologies, survey and assessment technologies, productivity and project management technologies. We have research data management technologies, and of course, everything else that you think is really neat, but doesn't fit in any of those categories that were mentioned before. So you can see it's very simple and straightforward. They're all post-it notes. So what you can do is actually double click on them and add the tools. But before we get to that, I do want to make this a nice opportunity for all of us to get to know each other. I know some of you have met each other, but for most of you, we are new faces to each other. And so if you could all just move together with me to the third slide on who are you, I'd like to do a quick sort of icebreaker activity. If you could all just grab one of the sticky notes, so you can double click on any of them to begin typing and just tell us who you are. So what is your name? Maybe share an example of a project that you're currently working on. It could be anything. And also maybe some of your other research interests, if they're not related to that project or they are related to that project. And if you feel comfortable, you can certainly share some contact information, so your email or a link to a bio, so that at the end of this document, like I said, this is shared with everyone in the group. And so being able to contact each other after the fact is always nice because part of that networking piece as well. So, oh yes, and for Kim, I'm going to share that link again. So let me know if you can see that. Yeah, I think the link only shows up after you join. So there you go. Let me know if you have access to that. Thank you so much. And I see really great. Everyone is getting into the document there. So just share a little bit about some, again, your name, what you're working on currently, some research interests that you have. And again, if you feel comfortable, some contact information so we can reach out you can reach out to each other, essentially, based off of what we do today. Wonderful. Yeah. And these are always really fun. I know usually we like to go around in a big circle, but because I wasn't sure how many people we'd see today, it's always good to have sort of this event here where we can see some of it actually on a visual sort of platform for all of us. This is great. So I see here, I'm just going to read off some of them. We have Barbara. She is in the onboarding program and she has an interest in, oh, can you tell us what EQ is in your case? I know we like to use acronyms a lot, and I know there's,
I'm so sorry. I hate to
no
do that, and I
worries.
did it. It's emotional quotient, emotional intelligence around that area, and I'm working on an onboarding program. So I'm really looking into culture and stuff like that. Not only where I work,
wonderful.
but best practice.
Yes, and can you tell us where you're joining us from today?
I'm actually in Montreal, and I'm actually on the Ganyo-Kahaga territory, which is also known as the Mohawk territory. And it's I didn't know how to spell Ganyo-Kahaga, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. So
no worries.
Land acknowledgement, I learned how to say it from an elder. So that's where I am today. I'm in Montreal. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your introduction.
No
yes,
problem.
I understand completely how you feel. That's happened to me before too, where I get a little nervous about mispronouncing something. But anyways, thank you for joining us from Montreal. This is great. And for explaining that acronym for us too. All right. And then we have Danielle. She's working on her MA, Master of Arts in EdTech at Concordia. MTL, maybe you could also explain to me. I'm not familiar with all the acronyms. MTL, what's that?
Sorry, it just means Montreal.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's great. That probably was more obvious to Barbara. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you graduated in 2017. Perfect. And you're currently a special education consultant there. Oh, that's wonderful. Wow. So we have a lot of expertise all around the circle. We have Janet as well. She does online course creation, a process enhancing online learning to become more engaging and interactive. Oh, I think we all need to talk to you a little more about the types of resources that you've been engaged in. Oh, hi, Carol. And I see that you're on video. We see Carol Sparks. She's an instructional designer. And of course, she has a very vital role as our vice president as well in CNIE. And so she's working on educational research courses, and she also put her contacts there. She's joining us from Kamloops, it looks like, today. And hopefully I'm saying this right, Boo Song Kim. She is an educational consultant and a learning designer from UBC. Japanese pronunciation training program. Oh, that sounds really interesting. So for those of you who are interested in language learning, and sorry, it's moving a little bit for me, and English online minor courses. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information there and some different projects you're working on. Kenya Brooks Jones, building education technology. Oh, and she has put her site there. Thank you so much for joining us. You'll have to tell us a little bit more about that soft tech, it looks like, that you're working on. And let me see here. We also have Melissa, teaching and research librarian in social sciences at Concordia. And you have a tech background in research as well, collection diversity, audit, education curriculum. Sorry, I'm just squinting because on my side, my screen's a little smaller. Maker spaces. I love maker spaces and libraries. I actually worked on the maker space here. I'm joining you from Edmonton, from the Edmonton Public Library. So we were really interested also in sort of participating in sort of in more informal, as we used to say, learning spaces and getting people to sort of engage in hands-on activities and learn, and digital tools as well. So that's wonderful. And hopefully I didn't miss anybody here that's been typing away on the notes here, but we can always go back and revisit this later. So thank you so much for all of your introductions. And I'm just being mindful of time here. So you can always go back if you wish and add some more if you'd like after. But I want to get into the main bulk of our actual interactive activity, which is to go into these slides. So I think most of you have access now. So if you just want to go ahead, I know we're all from various backgrounds. So whichever area you feel more comfortable with, what I'd like to do is, as I said here, we're going to post. So double click on any post based on the category that you're interested in. So feel free to flip through the slides ahead and see what you think might be the best sort of category or theme that your tool might fit in. And then if you could just quickly share with us type in what that tool name is and provide the link so that we can have access to it. You can tell us what it does. So for example, if it was a graphic design tool, let's say Canva, tell us what kinds of things it can make and what kinds of things you can design. And then you can also speak a little bit about the best or unique features that you found with that particular tool, why that stands out to you. And then what we'll do at the end, so we'll give this about 15 minutes, is we're going to go back through the slides and then sort of do a show and tell of the different technologies that we have, because it'd be really great to see some of the tools in action, especially since some of you have probably used them in your practice, and to see someone else do it sometimes who's more of an expert or at least has tried the tool is always more fun. So we'll give you about 15 minutes. So how about at about 10:30? So I'll just mute myself for now, but please go ahead and dabble around, take a look at some of the tools and different slides here where you could share some tools, and then we'll reconvene as a larger group and do a bit of sharing together. So we will go from there. Thanks, everyone. So I'll give you a bit of time to think about this. Okay, so we're just going to give you about a minute here to wrap up what you're writing. But of course, feel free to go in and continue adding things as you think of them. Sometimes one idea sort of springs up another idea as you go through. So hopefully you can still see my screen here, but what we're going to do is just go through each of the categories and again, do a bit of a show and tell. And let's take a look at some of these technologies together. So let's start with instructional design. So I'm looking here at micro learning videos, 7 taps. So I'm not sure who put this one up, but could somebody who knows about micro learning videos, 7 taps, turn on your mic? Oh, that would be you, Barbara. Perfect. If you can go ahead and tell us a bit about it, I can open it for you, or would you prefer to share your screen?
I actually don't have I don't have my login for it. It's just a really cool, very user-friendly, easy to learn micro learning. You can create little videos that are very mobile friendly. They're okay on a desktop, laptop, and they have obviously paid programs, but you can get away with using like your freebie one for a little while. And it allows for GIFs. It has some little videos that you can insert. And it's just, I'm not a huge fan of micro learning, but this is really kind of like a little bit of edutainment in a way. It's super easy to create a whole bunch of little things in it. And it's something I came across, and I encourage everybody to take a look. 7 taps.
Wow, it looks interesting. And it also looks like you can also make it for mobile devices too,
Yes,
or is
you
it
can. Yes, you
Yeah.
can. It actually works
Wonderful.
beautifully on a mobile device. It's like you just swipe and
Oh,
right. Yeah, it's a very cool little tool.
and you
Yeah.
said, so it's not quite free, but it is free for the first bit.
Yeah, well, it's free. You can make one.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can always have one once you sign up, and then they have different, obviously, pricing packages, and
Yes.
been trying to be the cheerleader for it to kind of get into this direction a little bit. It's a different way of learning. It's great on the app, and
Yes.
it's just, it's a little, it's fun. And it does have, some of the references are cultural, so you have to be careful depending on your audience. But it's a, I don't know, I think it's very cool.
Oh, this looks so cool. And it looks like you can easily share it too with others.
Yeah, super easy to share. Yeah. You just send them.
Love it.
Yeah.
And do you remember when you first used this, what you started off with?
I actually I actually used it to I used it to prototype an onboarding message, like a very quick onboarding message to newbies, versus sending them, because I'm working on an onboarding package, versus sending them a Word document and saying, you know, here's some links and check it out. So it was just another way of people having access. And I also used it as a going away from my department. I switched departments. So I put together a little show about everybody on my team. And I said, I'll remember you for this. I'll remember you for this. And everybody kind of said, oh, this is cool. And on my phone. And there you go.
Wow, that's really amazing. And I like that. It looks like you can incorporate quite a lot of different multimedia interactive activities. So I'm really excited to try this out.
And the best thing about it is it's so user-friendly. It's not like overly complicated. That's why I put it in there.
Is it like drag and drop?
Yeah. Well, pretty much. I mean,
no coding experience required.
It's not a big user. It's not a big learning curve. You can switch around your little panels, and
Right.
So. That's
wonderful. And it also looks very clean too, like the
very
format.
Modern.
Yeah, very modern, contemporary. I love it.
Very 4.0 or whatever we're at now, or whatever one.
Yeah.
Whatever anyone is saying.
Like...
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it looks like it also has a lot of embedded content. That looks really neat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Barbara. Perfect. So that one was micro learning videos. So 7 taps if you're interested in taking a peek. Articulate Storyline is one that I brought up. I've used it before to actually build more gamified sort of apps. I think some of you may already be familiar with it because it is used in some instructional design courses, but essentially it is sort of a course authoring kind of platform. It's not free, but you do get a free trial. I don't know what the free trial is now. I want to say for a month. I could be wrong, but if you're ever curious or inclined to take a look, you can definitely check it out. It's a fun way. This one's more marketed right now towards, you know, selling things, but there's certainly a lot of educational applications where I've used this to build sort of smaller kind of MOOCs or different learning packages so that they can, or different modules where they go through and they have some interactive elements that you can build in. It is, so I want to say there's a bit of a learning curve, but if you're familiar with using, let's say, PowerPoint presentations and building PowerPoints, it's kind of a beefed up version of PowerPoint. And so it has a couple more features. You can put like interactive quizzes. As I mentioned, you can add more gamified elements too when you get more comfortable with it. So a lot of animated activities and things that you can do to sort of have more formative assessments that happen, and also more sort of non-linear types of way of moving through the content when you're designing it. So worthwhile checking out if you are interested. Again, a bit more of a learning curve, but if you already have that basic PowerPoint presentation kind of navigation down pat, then this would be not too difficult, I think, to pick up. Someone here said Microsoft Word to build modules. Oh, could you tell us a little bit more about that? You might have some insights there. Important to use heading styles for accessibility. Yes. And I think accessibility is a very crucial component when it comes to instructional design. We've been talking about that a lot for technology and access. Was that you, Carol?
It was. And yes, so we have a large team here at Thompson Rivers University. So my role is really working with the subject matter experts to get the course material in a format without it being caught up with what technologies per se we would use, but to get the information and the idea behind them. So we just use Word, and we have a template that's set up with the different heading styles and the different sections to make sure that there's introductions and the learning objectives are there, and that the activities are listed in the topics and that sort of thing before we get into the module. But yeah, so the heading styles are important, and yeah, that's an area of research that I'm interested in, accessibility for online materials. So I just thought I would put that one in.
Yes, thank you so much. You're completely right. And actually, you can actually take entire courses on the whole Microsoft suite that really showcases some of the very advanced features. So whether you're trying to set up, what are they called? A mailing list, where it automatically populates all that information for you and sends out surveys. And Microsoft Word has a lot of accessibility tracking as well. So you can actually go through and do accessibility checks. I think Adobe Acrobat has as well. So there are just so many things and features with it packed within Microsoft Word. And thankfully, I think most students, especially at the universities, do have access to the Microsoft suite that usually comes as part of, being a student, and also, of course, being a faculty. But certainly, thank you so much, Carol. This is a really good point to bring. Sometimes simplicity is best, something that everyone already has access to. Well, how we actually intentionally use or repurpose a tool is the most important part, I think, about how we're going to use technologies in a way that enables and improves what we're doing, so our processes. So that's perfect. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you. Yes, pedagogy before technology.
Exactly.
That's my plug.
Yeah,
it's great.
exactly.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes, thanks for reminding us. And I see someone also added PowerPoint templates I have designed to quickly build courses. Oh, yes, this is a really important one. And Barbara's clapping her hands as well, applauding. Did anybody want to add more to the PowerPoint one? I also love PowerPoint. I think that the templates are so well designed, and there are a lot of add-ons that you can use as well. One of them I was thinking about, now this is more for, I believe, K-12 education, but I remember there was one called, I think it was called Pear Deck. It's an add-on, but what's really great about it is that you can, do I have it here? I don't think I do now, but there's ways that you can quickly set up, what are they called? So quizzes or surveys, and then actually have the results displayed on the automatically in the slide. So you can check out Pear Deck. I'll put that down in case you're interested. It is geared more towards K-12 because they have more colorful, I would say, graphic designs, but it can certainly be repurposed in such a way. So this is an add-on. Sorry, I'm going to add that right here, so that you can check it out. So it's a browser add-on. Google Chrome has it. It's also part of, I think, Google Slides as well. So it's really well embedded with Google Slides. But you can certainly have a look at that and see if that might be of interest to you when you're sort of designing more interactive presentations and wanting people to take part in your presentations. So I don't know if anybody wants to add more about the PowerPoint. I don't see anybody grabbing their mic or turning on their video camera. Let me just check the chat here. Okay, there we go. Oh, and sorry, I'm just looking at the chat again. So I'm just going to reshare the link to the document. I see some people just sort of lost access here. Just 1 second. Here we go. Oh, and thank you, Barbara, for confirming it's the 1 month. Yes, for the trial. Perfect. But I think that was for articulate storyline. All right. We also have YouTube. Yes, a very good one. I feel that nowadays, a lot of the learning that happens, even informally and sometimes academically, can happen through YouTube. And certainly that's a way, and not just even sharing the videos, but also taking part in the content creation. So just going through the process of designing videos, you realize there's a lot of work that goes into even storyboarding and preparing an actual video, getting all the things set up so that you have good audio, thinking about accessibility, like having the transcripts automatically done, or captions and so forth. All of those components that go into YouTube is actually quite phenomenal in terms of being a really great platform for learning. And I know certainly sometimes when you just need to fix something, like we were trying to do some drywalling in the basement, we looked it up, and you can learn so much about what types of recommended, tools that you can use to start doing it yourself, and really kind of, I think, inspires and motivates people to kind of get involved and participate and sometimes do it yourself. Wonderful. H5P for interactive activities. Could somebody expand a little bit on that one? Not sure who put that one up there. H5P. It sounds like it might be related to web design, but I could be wrong.
That's probably me again.
Okay.
And I know it's in another heading as well. H5P, I think it's h5p.com maybe.
Oh,
is the website. And what it allows for, or just even do a search on H5P, what it allows for is interactivity in activities. So you can build it. Yeah, there you go. I think create, share, reuse interactive HTML5 content in your browser.
Wonderful.
So it allows for drag and drop, matching activities, all sorts of, and I'm sure I should have put the link in there. I'm sure there's a place where it indicates all the types of activities that you can build, and they're accessible.
Yes,
that's
another really important piece.
Their claim to fame. So it allows for quick sort of recall types of activities, and yeah. So yeah, and I think there you go. But yeah, I don't usually build them. But if I say to add in a matching activity, then they will be built in H5P. So
wonderful.
Check it out.
Yes, and I see that. And it's also well embedded, integrated with a lot of other LMSs. So that looks really helpful as well. Learning management system, sorry. So that looks really great.
Yes, and we use them in Moodle. So they're embedded into Moodle. But a lot of, I think, on-campus faculty are familiar with it and use it in their on-campus courses as well. I work with online courses.
Yeah.
And like I say, we have a team of people. But yeah, there's the content types.
Wow. And is there one in particular, Carol, that you really like to use here? I see so many.
No, it all depends on what it is that you're trying to do. I mean, sometimes people use the quiz tool, or like you say, matching. Oh, a crossword puzzle is interesting. You just passed it. So, sometimes spelling is important. I worked on a veterinary technician course, and they were spelling the names of parasites that were as long as your arm, one might say. And one of the learning outcomes was that they'd be able to spell these things. And so we created a crossword puzzle that just gave them the opportunity to write it down, So yeah, so that's
great.
Yeah,
some really good integration. I also think one time I saw a really good application of using a crossword puzzle for a glossary, because the course is really heavily loaded with glossary definitions. And so just having that as sort of a informal, or I guess a formative assessment way of learning some of the glossary definitions was a really neat way to see them, the students interact with that content. So thank you so much. That's a really great idea. Pear Deck is the one I just mentioned earlier about having that add-on where you can add it to your Google Slides and have more interactive events, like as I mentioned, like the quizzes and having the survey results show up. Oh, iSpring. Can someone tell me a little bit more about that? So iSpring can turn your PowerPoint into an Articulate 360 type of program. Oh, okay. So I'm not familiar with this one. So It looks like we have Danielle. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I haven't actually spent much time on it, but I have a peer that also was one of my TAs, and they started using it at eConcordia. They started using PowerPoints, and then iSpring actually embeds in it, so they can basically create very similar articulate type e-learning programs with iSpring. So I'd love to have more experience, but one day when I have the budget.
Yes. Okay. So it sounds like it's not free, but I wonder if there's a free trial. Download for free. Okay, this looks really interesting. And yes, if this is an easier, sounds like the learning curve is also not as hefty, maybe as Articulate Storyline. Yeah, that's the sense you got too. Yeah, and Saul is nodding his head as well, so maybe he has some experience about that too. But it looks really modern and sleek, and the design is just really looks like well integrated and accessible, I presume too. Yeah.
Yes, actually that peer is in charge of accessibility, so she would know if she was recommending something that wasn't accessible.
And it looks like there's even some role-playing features. I would love to dig into this a bit more. This looks really interesting. And then you can track metrics as well for those of you who are learning analytics people here as well. And you can automate some things. Oh, great. Some artificial intelligence and machine learning coming through. So this would be really interesting to try out. I got to give this one a try. Thank you so much for sharing that, Danielle. That's wonderful. Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the next category. We're looking at presentation and graphic design technologies. So I see here quite a few here. We have Padlet, which is a great way to set up work with breakout rooms, sharing Google Docs. Yes, I love using Padlet as well. It is simple, visual, and extremely fast. Yep, very open. Who put up Padlet? Would you like to add a little bit more to that than what you've already had here? I think many of us really, Danielle, was that you, Danielle, again?
Yeah, yes. that was me. We use it as special education consultants. If we're doing a presentation, we can add the presentation PowerPoint plus any resources that we feel would help the audience. And for breakout rooms, it's so easy because it's just one link and everyone can go into the breakout room and meet at the same place and find all the instructions there.
Yeah, it's so handy. No, I love that idea. And I remember one time we had a class where we also did a scavenger hunt. So sort of along those same lines that you had, everything was sort of pre-set up, and then the groups could go in and actually share different resources and find different pieces for that part of that scavenger hunt. So that's really great. Thank you so much for that. Oh, and someone put here, interested in DALL-E, haven't played around enough. Artificial intelligence, I presume, and saying new text to image technology. Who is that? I'm going to try to open this up and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what this is. This looks really interesting. Oh, that's you, Danielle.
Sorry, I must have written in a row.
Oh, no, all good. Yeah.
This is something my husband's in production. He sort of got me onto this. I've played around a little bit with the free trial. Yeah. It's still really glitchy, but you actually just type in Mona Lisa with dog face, and the AI takes all the images from the internet and creates it for you. But it's still really finicky as far as my first experience with it. But I think it's really interesting where AI is going with this stuff.
I love this because I actually was doing a research project looking at artificial intelligence applications in art and also art education. And one of the really phenomenal things, well, of course, we have the discussion of whether or not art generated by artificial intelligence is art. There's also, of course, the philosophical underpinnings, but very neat to see how far we've come in terms of computer vision and also artificial intelligence being able to recognize different components and, take those and create and modify the type of works into essentially generating new works, whether that be in, the visual arts, but also in music. So we see that there too, in scripting their own plays. It's really amazing. So this looks really, really interesting. I'm very curious because it even shows an example of an original image here and then it being edited, added a little flamingo balloon. I like that. Yeah, so this looks really neat. Okay. Yeah, a really great way to sort of experiment with art and come up with your own creations. I have to give that a go. And is this so is this a web app or do you download it, or how exactly do you have an idea how there's also research on that?
It's web. I was playing around with it on my phone in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, and It only let me try about 3 images,
Okay.
but each image that I put text into, I wasn't super happy with the results. So I still
Okay.
feel it's got a ways to go.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and I can't remember the exact name, but Google also has something that they're working on related to this. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's also about computer vision and typing in different things, and it gives you examples of that object. So let's say a cat lying down. Now it's not perfect, but it's certainly building on that idea of trying to merge different things and recognize different objects and then put them together. So that's really interesting. And also there's another one on music composition. So just taking different types, styles of music and things that you're interested in, and it kind of combines it. So and recreates it. So if I find those, I'll put them in here as well. I just have to recall what exactly the name of that tool was. I don't know if Saul seemed to remember something, but maybe if one of us thinks of something, we can put that in there as well. Wonderful. And we have Pixabay, yeah, a site where you can find photos. I love using Pixabay too for a lot of the graphics under Creative Commons and public domain license. That's wonderful. And we also have, so you can take a look at that. I find it really useful to use as well. So I'll open it for those of you who want to look. And of course, you can always still attribute, it's such a, like their gallery is just packed with different images. So if you ever need to use some open license or Creative Commons pictures, you can go in here, use it for educational purposes. Really great way to do that. Unsplash as well, yeah. So along the same line, so great resource to source photography that can be used for free. Again, very wonderful if you're ever building like a website or you just need to add some images to the content that you've been creating. Google Slides is another really important one. So we're using one right now, very easy to use. Most people have an idea of how to use it, but also it's just so, the learning curve is just so simple and the accessibility is there for most people. Cynthia added this in the chat, so I added it on her behalf, but canva.com. Some of you may have heard this. I really love using canva.com as well. A great way for you to design anything, really. Design diagrams, but also interactive multimedia content. I don't know if you wanted to add more, Cynthia, over the mic or not, but there's a, as you mentioned here, you can design your own logos, visual infographics. It really gives you a lot of templates to sort of get you on your way, get you started. And you mentioned here, it's special for me since I can play with colors, easily switch out individual pieces. Yeah, building infographics. Yeah, very good as well. And various templates in a very easy manner. So again, drag and drop, very simple. And I don't know if Cynthia, I'm just going to see if she had more to add here. And oh, Saul says, believe it or not, one of my favorite apps is, Microsoft Forms. It is actually designed for testing, though I use it solely to collect student evaluation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Saul?
Yeah, I always felt uncomfortable using Google Forms because we use them in CNIE and they're super easy. That's not the issue. It's where they're physically located. And they're physically located in my homeland where it's subjected to the Patriot Act. And most Canadian universities have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Depending, if you're a Google University, it will be on, you will have your own server for Google. I should preface with that. Lakehead has, I believe, is a Google University, but we're a Microsoft University, so we have our own MS Forms. And so there's a couple little weirdnesses with that when you're signed in on 365, but I love it for collecting data. It puts everything in an Excel sheet, which I prefer to Google Sheets. And then you can easily copy. But it's really interesting. Instead of saying a new form, like which Google does, it says new quiz. So they designed this to be used in schools, and you can do multiple choice testing. I don't do that much, so that's why I don't use it that way. But you can. But it's wonderful for collecting data.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with that. And you're absolutely right about that. Sometimes when we think about, the data ownership piece, we also have to keep that in mind when we're working with that, especially with, in classrooms and so forth. And I see Danielle also added, but the immersive feature, reader feature in Forms is amazing too. Yes. Yeah, so many different features. Sometimes it makes it a little harder to choose which one works the best for you. But again, all based on the context. And again, sometimes based on your university as well, if they already have their own local server where they can store all the information, even better. So there's always different ways to work around that as well. That's great. Okay, we have Flaticon free icons and clip. Let's take a look at this one. I actually haven't checked this one out before, but it sounds similar to Pixabay and some other ones. Oh, this is good. So a lot of vector graphics for those of you who are in graphic design and need want some help with logos and so forth. It looks like Oh, I quite like this one. So if you ever need to, build an avatar or something, this looks like a great one as well. I don't know if you want to add, who was the person who put Flaticon on here? Did you want to add a little bit more about how you use this? So I'm just going to close the other. I opened up so many tabs as per usual. Oh, Danielle, that was you.
A lot of these programs we used in one of our ed tech classes, and it's great because you can actually download like a theme set. So when you're looking for icons and you want them to all match and have a same look and aesthetic, you can get for free a whole set that goes together. So it's really convenient, and so many are free.
Yeah, I love this. And then, like you mentioned, because they're groups of the similar style and theme, so great if you're building, like anytime you're trying to build really any kind of content, but also for those of you, I used to do some game making as well with students, and we always like to have a lot of GIFs that we could use that could flip between different animations, keyframes essentially. And so it was really great to have sort of similar group themes of things, but also, as you can see, to create your own content. So looks like people have used it to create their own products as well, which is really neat. Oh, thank you so much. This is great. I didn't know about that one. I'm going to have to favorite that one too. Alrighty. Okay, let's head back to here we have the Noun Project. Now I've heard of this one, but can you tell us a little bit more about this? So the Noun Project, a great place to find icons. So let's open that one too. Yes, go ahead. That's Melissa.
I added that one. I added the last three on the bottom.
Okay,
we've
wonderful.
used this at the library for a number of years now. We have a paid subscription to it, so there's some options that you can have, like changing the color of the icon so that it matches like your website or your presentation or anything. But it's pretty nice. We use them in our subject guides on our website, and we use them in our presentations as well. So you can usually find some really great icons and related icons as well based on the topic, and it's pretty seamless.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, you can customize it on the fly, just in the browser, which I love too. And then you can download it, I presume, somewhere. I just need to figure out where. There's probably a way to do it.
Yeah, I think you have to set up a free account or whatnot to be able to download, so it'll affect what you can do, but it's pretty neat to use.
Yeah, very simple and straightforward. I love it. Thank you so much. This is so neat. I love these. There's another one called GIMP. That's more of like I should have added that too for the graphic designers. For those of you who want a simpler version of Photoshop that's in browser too. I don't know if they used to have it available. I don't know if it's still available online, but it's you can use it for, I don't know if it's still available, but looks like now it might not be in browser, but you can download it and essentially have a simpler version of Photoshop if you're ever interested. That's what it reminded me of. Thanks so much for sharing that, Melissa. And you said you also did the other two. So can you tell us a little bit about StorySet and Procreate as well? So I'm just going to open them up as we go here.
Yeah, StorySet, I found out about last year when I was taking one of the EdTech classes. We used it in one of our presentations. It's very geared towards sort of education settings, but if you're typing in different keywords, you can usually find some different things that are relevant, but it's really nice because they have about 4 sets of designs, like I think it's called Rafiki, Bro, Amico. There's like about 5 different styles, and it's really nice because you can make your presentation flow really nicely depending on what kind of style that you use. So that was also a really nice site.
Yeah, very thematic. I love that. And then the other one you mentioned was Procreate. So this is for Mac users, but still great to know what they are. So
so it's for iPad users. If you have an Apple Pen, iPad, it is paid. It's not free, but the fee is actually quite minimal. It was like $15 at the time, and it's one time, no subscription. You get access to it, and I've been using it for a few years now. It's really fun for people that are interested in graphic design, creating artwork. You can create short animations within it too. There's a lot of different things that you can use, and there's so many people on YouTube that use this as well. So there's tons of tutorials that you can follow along with, and there's different artists as well that have tons of free content that they can, in terms of like style, like pens and things like that, that you can add and download. There's so much content available, so it's fun to check out if you're interested in that.
Oh, this looks amazing. It looks quite advanced too with all the features, and I really like the look how professional it looks. I think it's for professional artists too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This looks so cool. And it sounds like it's also mobile because you can do it on your iPad, Can you do on your phone? I don't know, maybe?
I just looked up very briefly on my phone. They actually have an app. It was called Procreate Pocket. It's $7.
Okay.
So I think there's some aspects or functionalities that you can use. I don't know if it has everything available on it on your phone, but it is
That's so cool.
it's pretty cool to check out. But
Yeah.
it's really fun. I really enjoy using it.
Yeah, that looks really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Thanks.
Getting me thinking about all the artistic stuff I want to do now. All right, so I'm just mindful of the time. We're going to go through these ones a little bit faster, but we have multimedia, games, storytelling, interactive technology. So I'll go through this a little faster. H5P we already talked about. I think Carol mentioned that one. So you can take a look at that. We have Game Maker and Code.org for doing some coding, programming, interactive game design. Sketchfab. Oh, I love Sketchfab. I don't know if somebody wants to add more to that, but I think this is for AutoCAD. So designing and finding 3D models. Did anybody want to add more to that? I'm not sure who mentioned that one before, but I love using this one as a way to sort of, you can even download 3D models. So for those of you who are doing 3D printing, you can go to your library sometimes to get that done, or in schools. And then we also have Tinkercad. Yes, I love using Tinkercad as well. A wonderful way to, oh yes, and of course, like Arduino, like code like blocks, but be able to design everything. And even children we found in different programs were able to sort of build this themselves very simply. So the learning curve is not difficult at all. I'll open it up so you can take a peek. But I quite like this for generating 3D models. You can also import models. So if you want to import them from Google's Google Sketch, what's it called? They've changed it so many times, the different names, but they have so many different things you can use. And you can see here, you can change it up and make your own. So was that you, Melissa, who mentioned those ones? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add more. I don't want to steal your thunder. So
No.
ahead.
That's everything that we use it in some of our workshops at the Technology Sandbox in our makerspace, and we teach people how to create 3D designs. We also use it as an option for people to simulate circuitry. So in our Arduino workshop, although we're handling physical materials, people can also simulate it online if they don't actually have the materials themselves at home, which is really fun. It was really fun. We did it this year.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I like what you mentioned, like there's just so many possibilities that you can use with it, and it's not hard at all to navigate the space, right? Because sometimes with 3D sketch modeling programs, you're just like trying to find the different axes, but this one, easy. Perfect. Survey and assessment technologies. We have RedCap, some people have used, Qualtrics as well. Poll Everywhere, good examples, Google Forms, Microsoft Forms. They have a built-in immersive reader for accessibility. These are really great ideas for those of you who are interested in, using survey tools and assessments. I don't know if anyone wants to add a bit more. Sorry, I'm speeding through a little bit, but you can definitely come back. Of course, again, look at this link and take a look at some of these tools and try them out for yourself. Productivity and project management tools. We have Microsoft Excel. I love using this to even manage my research sometimes, but just managing your life is also helpful too. Some people do financing with it. Habit RPG is a gamified app that allows you to build your own character and then create healthy habit goals. I think that one's on the phone. That's a really interesting one as well. If you like that sort of gamified theme of developing habits, both Asana and Trello I like using too, and to-do lists. They're all sort of project management types of tools that you can take a look at. I think they're all, I want to say they're free, but maybe up to a certain point. I'm pretty sure Trello and Asana to some extent is quite free, up to a certain point. I don't remember how many members, but really great ways to sort of manage your projects. I'm going to quickly open one. I'll just look it up like this. You can take a peek at those, but they're really nice places to sort of, if your school or your group wants to work on different things together, a nice way to manage your sort of to-do lists and action items, and also communicate and collaborate online. So take a look at those. Trello I also really like because it has the visual boards. And then we're going to skip right over to research data management. Zotero I love using. So for those of you who are managing a lot of data, writing a lot of literature reviews, so especially for some of our students and our faculty members. And also there's the Concordia library guide that you can always access. It has a lot of different data management plans, it looks like, that you can use as well. And then let's take a look at this last slide here. Other technologies that you must try. So mentioned Padlet again. So use it to collect all of my stuff. So it's kind of like having a Pinterest, but more open in some ways. I can see that. That's a really good idea. So having free boards, PD, oh yeah, these are really useful as well, right? Having different types of online, but also applications that can help you convert file types, whether that's PDF to something else, or whatever format you might need to use, especially when you're about to publish your dissertation and you need it in PDFX format or something. Microsoft 365 environment, again, nice because it's usually well integrated with the student and faculty environment if you're in the university, but also in industry as well, having access to sort of those tools. And of course, very advanced features as well, looking in virtual reality headsets, and then Scope AR, the Canadian-based company that uses augmented reality to train personnel at workplace. So some cool things to check out, really great ideas. And I really appreciate that all of you have been here today for our very first event for October with CNIE. So I'm just being mindful of the time. We're hitting here now 11:06. I'm going to once again just share the link so that you can take a look at this at the end of our event. I'll also send it out in an email afterwards in case you want to check it out. But if you, in the meantime, think of any really interesting tools or resources that you want to share, or if you also want to go back and connect with someone that you met today, you can always go back to the third slide with our icebreaker area here and find their information and contact them. So a really great way to meet others as well. So let me just make sure that I was able to send that message here. I'm trying to send it to everyone. Here we go. There it is. And Barbara just added, I love PDF. It's so easy. Yeah. And Danielle, that's really good. Looks really fun. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for our first event. I hope you had some fun and learned some new tools and resources that you could engage in. Are there any final thoughts or questions from any of you before we wrap up this event today? Carol says, thank you. All right. Wonderful. I hope you learned as much as I did today, and we hope to see you at one of our other events in the future. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care for now. Bye-bye.